Hello there, welcome back to the Kotlin Whisper channel. Today, we're diving into 5 super useful Kotlin standard library functions: let, run, repeat, TakeIf, and also. These functions can make your code cleaner, more readable, and just more fun to write. Let's explore each one of these with 3 examples to give you a solid understanding of how and when to use them. Alright, let's dive in. First, let's talk about let. It's perfect for handling nullable variables, working with scoped variables, and chaining transformations. Let's look at some examples. Let's start with handling nullable variables. Take, for example, you have a nullable variable which is a string. In some scenarios, you may want to perform an operation on this string, but you need to be sure it is not null. You can use let to perform this operation as follows. Provide your variable name, then invoke the let function. After which, you can do all your operations while you're here. Say, for instance, we want to print this out in uppercase. We can access the scoped nullable value using the it parameter. In our case, println it.uppercase. With let, we safely perform an action only if name is not null. The it keyword inside the block refers to name in a non-null state. This is a safe and clean way to handle nullable values in Kotlin. A second way in which you can use let is when scoping a variable. Let's write out an example. Here we have a value 5 and we have a result which will be equals to value.let, double the value from the scope, and then return the doubled value with 3 added onto it. If we print out this value, it will give us the value 13. Here, we use let to create a scope for doubled, which is only needed temporarily. It keeps the rest of the code clean by limiting doubled only to this scope, avoiding unnecessary variable declarations. We may also want to use let to chain calls. Let's look at an example. In this example, we chain 2 let blocks to transform the string, first trimming the white space, then converting it to uppercase. This keeps the transformations concise and easy to follow. Next, let's talk about run. This function is ideal when you want to execute some code and return a result. Here are some 3 useful cases. Firstly, we want to use it to initialize an object. Say, for example, we have our data class here, which has 2 variables, name and age. These have default values. In this example, we use run to set properties of a person. We return this to pass block. We return this to pass back the modified object. So we'll create an initial object with the defaults and then adjust the values in the run block. Then use this to pass back the modified object. It's a neat way to initialize objects without requiring a separate builder function. Another use case for using run Here, run is used to perform an operation and return a result. We calculate the length of the string and store it in the length variable. This is a clean way to execute code and return the output in a single line. We can also use run to perform temporary scoping for complex operations. Look at another example here. Here, run creates a temporary scope for calculating the area of a circle. We don't need radius elsewhere, so run helps to keep it isolated. This is great for one-off calculations. Now, let's have a look at repeat. This function is perfect for repetitive tasks, creating lists or performing side effects multiple times. Let's look at these three examples. Firstly, we can use repeat for basic looping. Check out this piece of code. This example uses repeat to print a message 3 times. The IT keyword represents the current iteration index, starting from 0. It is a great alternative to the for loop when you just need a specific number of repetitions. We can also use repeat for building a list. Look at another sample here. In this case, repeat helps us populate a list with even numbers. This is a clean way to initialize lists when you know the exact number of items you need to add. In our scenario, we want to add to the numbers list 5 times. And since we know the iteration parameter starts from 0, we'll be multiplying it by 2 as we go to each and every step. Thereby, we're able to find 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8 added onto the numbers list. Lastly, we can use repeat to apply multiple changes on a given object. Let's look at this example with a string builder. In this example right here, we are using repeat to append message 3 times. Repeat helps make the code more readable compared to using a for loop for such a task. Here, we will print Kotlin is awesome 3 times. Now, let's talk about TakeIf. This function returns the object itself if a condition is met or null otherwise. It's usually great for conditional filtering and validation. Let's look at some examples. Here, TakeIf returns number only if it is even. If the condition isn't met, TakeIf usually returns null. So you can filter values based on custom conditions easily. Another example for using TakeIf is as follows. Here, we are using TakeIf to ensure the username meets a length requirement. If it doesn't, the function will return null. This is great for quick validation without complex if statements. One final example is for checking lists for values. Take a look at this example. Here, the TakeIf function is used to check if the list contains a specific element. If the condition is true, it returns the list. Otherwise, it returns null. This can be useful for conditional list processing. Lastly, we will take a look at the also function. This function is perfect for side effects. Things like logging and modifying objects in line without breaking the flow of your code. Let's look at some examples. Here is the first one. In this example, the also function helps us log the state of list before modifying it. This is great for debug statements without disrupting the main logic. We can also use also for chaining calls. Here's an example of how you can do that. Here also lets us log information before and after modifying the number. This is useful for understanding the flow of a chained transformation. In this scenario, you would have starting with a given value and then tripled value is as follows. So able to do before and after of whatever you're wanting to implement. The last thing you can do with also is modifying objects in line. Take a look at this example. In this example, we modify a map by adding new entries with also. It's a handy way to update objects while still being able to perform additional tasks like logging or chaining. That's it. We've just explored 5 incredibly useful Kotlin functions: let, run, repeat, takeIf, and also. Each one offers unique ways to keep your Kotlin code concise, readable, and powerful. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment on which function you're most excited to use. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy coding!